Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Now a few months back a company called Brinyte got in touch and asked if I would like to have a look at one of their lights. Now Brinyte are new to me, they're certainly not a new company but they're definitely new to me, and they asked if I'd like to have one of their staple tactical lights, and this is the PT16A. And I like lights and I know you guys like lights, so I bit the hand off and said yes, of course I would love to have a look. And for my first kind of interaction with a light from Brinyte, I'm very impressed. So let's turn the camera around and take a closer look. As far as unboxing is concerned, the packaging is very simple with the PT16A. Some information here on the front, a maximum output of 3000 lumens. Again, very simple on the sides, and then on the back you've got some QR codes where you can find additional information on either Facebook or YouTube. Opening this up, on the inside you have the light here, which I'm just going to put down to one side for a second, and then behind here you then get kind of regular sort of stuff. So you get a charging cable, this is a USB Type-C cable. You get a small wrist lanyard, which I think is very nice. You also get a couple more oak gaskets, again, which is nice. You get some warranty information, and then they actually give you one of these like a little patch, which I think is quite nice as well. But that's just the box. Here we have the light itself. So this is the PT16A. It's a bit of a mouthful, but I think you find with a lot of light companies, they don't come up with fairly imaginative names for their lights now, do they? Okay, so going through some of the big headline details on here. As far as the measurements are concerned, this comes in at 159 millimeters from the end, or at least the head unit here, down to the tail switches here. As far as the width of the light is concerned, at its smallest, the shaft here, or the body of the light itself, this comes in at 27 millimeters, which is fairly standard for a light like this. And then the head, where it's widest, comes in at 39 millimeters. This is constructed from a similar material to a lot of these lights, which is your 6061 T6 aluminium. It's known for being strong, but also being reasonably light as well. The light in this, excluding the battery, comes in at 152 grams. Now I did mention, so the charger on this is a USB Type-C charger, which charges just underneath here. The cables, as far as this is concerned, and now I always check this sort of stuff, I've found that every single cable that I've tested this with works flawlessly. That's not because this is a proprietary one, it's because you tend to find with certain cables, the plastic moulding around the cable sometimes tends to be quite big, so it doesn't seat perfectly into here. But I can say all of the ones that I've tested with this in, the metal around the actual switch port itself is big enough, haven't had any issues whatsoever. The bung that fits in here is also really nice. When you pushed it in, you get a good kind of positive kind of air seal on there to make sure that it's in and that it sits perfectly. Now, as far as your air seal concerned for your dust and water rating is concerned, this is the highest that you can get for consumer electronics, which is a IP68. Now, the 6.8 shows that they have tested for both dust, which is the 6, and 8, which is water, which is the highest that you can get for consumer electronics. So it's good to see that. Now, as far as the battery is concerned, you unscrew the tail switch to get the battery out. As this unscrews, here you'll be able to see that this is one of Brinyte's own 21700 batteries. I have tested to see if this is what's the word, proprietary. I don't feel that this is proprietary. I've tested 4 other 21700 batteries in here and they all work perfectly, which is good to see. There are some manufacturers, not mentioning any names, that do use their own batteries. So if you have plenty of other 21700 batteries, and it's something that's important to you so that you can swap batteries. Sorry, I think we just went out of focus there for a second. If you need to be able to swap batteries in and out quickly, then you can use other 21700 21700s. Just as an extra note as well, you have a spring in the tail unit and you also have a spring in the head unit. I'm not sure if you can see into there. So if this is used for security, if this needs to be struck against something, you will always get a constant stream of light as the inertia is dampened by a spring in the head and the tail unit. When I screw this on, there's a full turn, there's a little bit of play, still a little bit of play, still some more play in there, but I'm now getting down to the gasket here. Turning this on, you get a good positive feedback from the gasket, and there's no play in here whatsoever. Now actually, I probably should have shown you this whilst it was off, but you do have, let's just hold that with my hand for a second, you do have this tactical ring on here so that you can hold this in a few different positions if you need to. This is completely removable, you just have to pull this back. Now I will say, when you pull this back, just be careful of this gasket here because you do have to slide it over this gasket to be able to do it, so just be careful when you're doing that. Whilst I have this back here, hopefully you'll be able to see that you also have this, you have a pocket clip. You can only remove this pocket clip by moving this tactical ring backwards. When you put the pocket clip in here, there's a recess just here within this ring, so as you pull the ring forward, it sits over this pocket clip, so you have to remove this to be able to take this off. I've seen this on a few other lights. I think it's good. It just means that whilst you have it in your hand, if you're concerned about this ring slipping, or if for muscle memory, if you want to hold it in a certain way, it just means that it will always be in the same position with the clip compared to where the actual ring is itself. Personally, you do have to move it around ever so slightly, mainly because if you try and hold it like that, then this clip does affect where this ring is held in this position. But again, it's just down to muscle memory. I had that in the wrong position there, because I can still actuate the buttons whilst it's in my hand with the flesh here on the palm, the saddle joint here in my thumb. Now moving on to the end of the light here, hopefully you'll be able to see that this has a very deep and very flat reflector on there, which is great. You can see the LED unit down there at the bottom, which does sit perfectly in the center as I'm doing this. Kind of gives it this really cool kaleidoscope effect. On the bezel, this is definitely what I would consider a tactical striking bezel. So you have these raised ridges around here, and then you also have 3 of these hardened ceramic striking points. So just going out of focus again, you do have these ceramic striking points against here. So if you're using this for security or law enforcement, and you need to be able to use this maybe to get into a vehicle, maybe if somebody is trapped in there, you can use these to smash windows. Now after that, as far as the UI is concerned, you've seen me using these 2 tail switches here, but you do have dual functions with the UI on here. You have this button here which will turn it on. I'm currently in one of the low modes at the moment, which is why it isn't. And then you have your tail switches here. So to quickly look at the tail switches, you have 2 buttons on here. The first button down here at the moment, as this is turned off, if I press this button, it puts it on to strobe mode, which uses 1600 lumens. If it is that you're not using strobe mode and you want to use this and to get direct access to the turbo, you can press the main switch here, which will then give you instant access to the turbo. Now it did just kick down there for a second, so let's move my hand out of the way. So there is your 3000 lumens. To then cycle down through the modes, you can then use your secondary button, which will then cycle through the modes. Now hopefully what you'll see is it went from turbo then down to low, medium and high, and then you've got your turbo again. Now if you're not using this tactically for instant access to strobe or turbo, instead you have another button here which is more for your everyday use. This one has a memory on here. Now the reason that I'm pointing that out is With this button here, no matter what, if I'm now on, so now I'm on medium, if I turn this off and then turn it back on again, it's always going to come through to the turbo mode. This light is different because this is your everyday function, so if I press this now, you'll see that it will turn on. I can then do a press which will then cycle it through the mode. So at the moment I'm on low. To turn this off, you do a long press turn off and it turns off. This has a memory. If I press this on now, it will come back on to its low mode. To cycle through these, you then do a press and it will cycle through. So we have low, medium, high and turbo. Now this is different to some other manufacturers. Now I am actually a fan of this, mainly because it's just easier to be able to switch between the different modes. If you look at companies like Olight prefer to do a long press to cycle through the modes, which means that it can take a little bit more time to be able to get from A to B. Whereas with this one, once you're on, you can cycle through the modes very quickly. But if you want to turn it off, it's then a long press to turn it off. It's just a different way of coming about it. I know we're all used to companies like Olight using that long press to cycle through them, but I generally do prefer a short press to cycle and a long press to turn off. So I do definitely like the UI on here. Now we've gone through all of these modes. Again, the proof of the pudding with this really does come down to the tasting. So let's fast forward, let's come down to the woods this evening and see how this performs in the dark. So we're down at the woods, it's past midnight. Young Adelaide's gone off for a wander in the woods over there. It's raining a little bit, so you might see a little bit of water, precipitation falling from the sky. So we have the PT16A, and we're going to go through the mode. So it's a single press to turn this on. At the moment we are on the low mode, which is 5 lumens. It does a very good job with 5 lumens. I think because of the higher candela well, that flat reflector that's in here, it does a very good job of being able to throw this light. So I'm just looking down this little path here, and there's a tree there which is about 10 meters away, and it lights that up easily. Now rather than a long press, you can just do a single press and it will cycle through the modes. So this is from low to medium, which is 120 lumens. The light that this produces is a very nice white light. It's very clear, it's very crisp as well. I can definitely say all in all that I'm very impressed with the light that comes from this, and 120 lumens on medium does a very good job. If I just come back here again, because I know Heidi's just off in the distance over there, but I can easily see 20-30 meters over off into those trees. Now from medium I can then do another press which will then jump up to the high mode, which is 900 lumens, and 900 lumens on this does an incredibly good job. Looking off into the distance there, here you can see that really nice high candela. If I bring this down onto the floor, so you can definitely see that there is a warm spot there, and as I usually do, this is 45 degrees to the left and back, 45 degrees to the right. So you can see that the skirt around here, as I turn the light, you can see how defined that skirt is because of the geometry of the bezel on the end. Very, very nice, tight, warm spot, and a really nice defined skirt on the edge as well. Now if I do another long press, this will then take me up to turbo mode. Turbo mode on this is the 3000 lumens. Now let's get into a good position. There is a kick down on this. It will kick down after 60 seconds or 1 minute. But here now, if I hold this up again a little bit further above my head, you can see just how far down there. I can easily see past 60, 70, maybe 80 meters. And the beauty of this, the amount of light that this is pumping out as well, hopefully you can see down there as well. You can see all through these trees. In fact, actually, that's probably the one that you can see just there, but I can see maybe another 10 meters past that with ease. Bringing this back around. Now, this is starting to get warm, so I'm expecting that this will kick down soon. So instead, I will press that main button again, and this then cycles back round so that we have low, medium, high, turbo. And then doing this at distance, let's do it back here again. So you can just see, or at least I can just see a tree there, 15, 20 meters easily. Low, medium, high, and then turbo. Now this is using the main functions on that head switch. If I just turn that off for a second, we have those two special functions on the tail switch as well. One being instant access to the strobe on here. The strobe on this is a variable refresh strobe, which uses the full. Actually, no, it doesn't. Sorry. What was it? It was 1,600. I need to triple check that. I didn't write down what the strobe was. Whereas you have the other switch, which gives you instant access to the turbo of the full 3,000 lumens. Now after a minute or so it will drop down to 600 lumens, but again, I think really the turbo on this, especially if you're using this maybe for security or for self-defense, you're probably not going to have it on anything longer than a minute. Now I will say, I know I'll say this again, but the light that this produces is incredibly crisp and incredibly clear. It's definitely one of the things that I can say as how much, certainly how much this light has impressed me with the light that it produces. Now I do like the PT16A, and I want to clarify just a little point on here, so stay with me on this kind of train of thought. What I would do is I'd class this as a standard tactical light. Now by standard I don't mean just kind of standard, I mean as though if you look at the breadth of light manufacturers out there, they all have a similar light to this, and this is what I mean as far as a standard is concerned, as a benchmark across all of the different light manufacturers and the features that they have on here. Some of the features that this has are very similar to other light manufacturers, and it doesn't necessarily reinvent the wheel. However, and this is hopefully where this train of thought eventually pays off, is the fact that it doesn't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. They are called, or at least I refer to these as standards, because that's the benchmark of what you'd expect from a similar light like this. And as far as the standards are concerned, it does them all incredibly well. You have your dual tail switch, which works perfectly, whether you're using this for security or self-defense, it works great. You have your tactical ring on there, which is great that this comes as standard in the box with it. A lot of other companies would certainly class that as an addition, or you'd have to pay extra to buy one of those separately. If instead you are just using this as an everyday light whilst you're walking through the woods or whatever it is that you're doing, it does that incredibly well as well. The build quality on this is nice. It uses the same materials that other companies use, which again is perfect. You have your tactical strike bezel, you have a good long throw on this. The light that it produces is also of a good quality as well. And this is again getting back to that not inventing the wheel. It doesn't need to reinvent the wheel. What it does do is it works as a wheel should do. Damn it, I knew I was going to go off on that last little bit, but hopefully that makes sense. Now I do want to say thank you to Brinyte to sending this out to me, and genuinely I also want to apologise for this taking so long to get this content out. Unfortunately, due to some unforeseen things, there were a few other pieces of content that had to be bumped forward, which unfortunately meant that this one slipped by an extra month or so. So I do apologise for this taking so long to get out. But yes, thank you again for sending this to me. Now I'll leave some links below so that you can see more from Brinyte, where you can find some more information on the PT16A and the other lights that they do. I'll also leave some of my social media links below here on Moorlander EDC and my sister channel Moorlander Tactical. And whether you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble, as always, stay safe, stay Moorlander and stay EDC. A new company, but they got in touch and asked if I would like to have a look at their lights. Now, well done, knobhead. It's downside of this time of year. It's a beautiful time of year. We have some amazing sunrises and sunsets. However, we also have a very low sun, which just constantly means, that was nice, I stood in a deer turd. There's a new one. But anyway, sun, face, sun, sun, face, sun, camera, everybody, YouTube, sun, face, sun, camera. Here we go. These are doing so that you can see the breadth of similar lights that are out here. The breadth of similar lights. Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. No, that was a bit too long of a gap there. I think I was having a breath. There's another breath. A lot of leaves falling in the woods today and it sounds like people are stood over there. Not talking, probably just watching from a distance, rustling leaves, but they're not, it's leaves falling from the tree. It keeps putting me off because I'm constantly thinking that there's someone over my shoulder, when there isn't. Anyway, hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Now recently I got contacted, I forgot what I was going to say then, I'll start again. I hope that last bit made sense. I can be a bit of a knob sometimes, and sometimes, although, I mean, I'd love to speak in my actual dialect, which is Moorlandese, but we're a small landlocked nation and not a lot of people around the world speak Moorlandese, so I have to use my second language, which is English, and my English isn't as good as my Moorlandese, so I think that's why I get choked up on certain words sometimes. That must be the logical reason why. Wednesday, I'm pretty sure this is coming out on the Wednesday. We have an action-packed week this week. Hopefully you'll have seen something on Sunday and on Monday, or if you're watching this in the future, you may have just seen them anyway, which you are watching this in the future because it's the future from me now because I'm filming this weeks beforehand. But anyway, I hope you've all had a good week. I hope you're having a great week. Happy hump day. I will see you soon and probably on Sunday. So yeah, have a good one.